Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Life and Times of Crazy Patrick. I'm Crazy Patrick. I'm glad to be back here with you tonight. If you watch my premiere, you'll know why I go by Crazy Patrick. And also in my premiere, I told you I really like to cook. I started cooking. My mom started teaching me how to cook when I was like 7 years old. I started baking and cooking. I could read a recipe before I could read a book. And so I really enjoy cooking. Tonight, I'm going to show you how to make cocktail de camarones. That's a Mexican shrimp cocktail. It's a really great dinner on a hot summer evening. It'll cool you down and heat you up at the same time, all right? I didn't want to bore you with cutting up all the vegetables, so I'm going to go ahead and go over the recipe with you. You might want to get a pen and paper and write this down so you can make this for yourself. It's real easy. Just takes a little time chopping up the vegetables. You're going to need 1/3 cup of Spanish onions. I like Spanish onions a lot, so I put in 1/2 cup. You're going to need 1/4 cup of lime juice. You're going to need 1 pound of medium shrimp. You're going to need 2 Roma tomatoes diced. You're going to need 1 cucumber finely chopped, 1 stick of celery finely chopped. You're going to need 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of pepper. You're going to want a bunch of cilantro, like a handful bunch of cilantro. Pick the leaves off the stalks. You don't want to throw the stalks in and then chop up the leaves. You're going to want 2 tablespoons of hot pepper sauce. I use this brand right here. It's a really good brand of hot sauce, and it's imported from Mexico. I can't pronounce the name. Cholula. I think that's how you pronounce it. Cholula hot sauce. And then you're going to need 1.5 cups of tomato juice, and you're going to need 2 avocados chopped. Then you're going to need 1 cup of ketchup. Okay, so the way you start this is you want to start with your tomato juice and make your sauce first. So you really should use Clamato in this, but my wife doesn't like Clamato, so I just use V8. So there's 1.5 cups of tomato juice. Now we're going to need the ketchup, 1 cup of ketchup. Sorry about this, folks. I had to get in here and get a spoon. There's 1/2 cup. Now we're going to want to do another cup, 1/2 cup. There we go. We got our cup of ketchup now. And when you dice your onions, you're going to want to do them first. Dice those onions up and put them in a container. So, then put your 1/4 cup of lime juice on the onions. Let them start marinating in that lime juice. Now we're going to need our 2 teaspoons of salt. I'm out here in my man cave, as you can tell probably. This is my 1993 Jayco Designer Series Class C RV. When I'm at home, it's my man cave. I have my own kitchen. I like to do my own thing out here. My wife understands, like I explained in my premiere video. Now we're going to want 2 teaspoons of pepper. There we go, there's the pepper and the salt. Now we need 2 tablespoons of your hot pepper sauce. And like I say, you know, in my premiere, I like to tell stories. So I thought tonight, when I get this put together, it needs to go in the refrigerator for about an hour. So I thought while I'm waiting for that, I'll tell you a little story. I won't drag you on for an hour, but I'm going to tell you one of my old family stories I think you'll enjoy. I always try to keep things cleaned up. I hate a mess when I get done cooking. So I try to keep things fairly cleaned up. Now we want to mix this all together, get it all, the tomato juice and the ketchup all mixed up real good, okay? So we're going to stir this up a bit. And of course, you can tell, you see my beer sitting there. It's also beer 30. So of course I am going to have some beer. Now I think I'll take a drink right now. Here's to you, here's to me. May we never disagree. And if we do, to hell with you, here's to me. Now I've had these onions chopped up and marinating in the lime juice. So I'm going to throw those in. Then we're going to throw in the celery and cucumber. We're going to throw in the diced tomatoes. And we're going to throw in the cilantro. In that order. Now you want to mix this up real good. It makes a huge amount, but I usually take seconds on this because it's so good. At this point, I am going to taste it. Make sure I haven't overheated it. No, that's perfect right there. I think it could also probably use a little more. Could probably use a little more hot sauce for me, but I don't want to burn my wife up. Last, you just want to fold in the avocado. Now the shrimp, I've already boiled the shrimp, had them already. You want a half a pound of the already shrimp with the shells off and deveined, and then you want to pull all the tails off, of course, after you cook them. I already have the shrimp boiled. So now we're going to take the shrimp and we're going to put the shrimp in. Now when you cook your shrimp, you're going to want to put some salt in the water. Some people like to boil the shrimp in chicken stock, which, you know, that's okay. I don't do that. But you are going to want salt in the water when you boil the shrimp. You just want to boil the shrimp until they're pink. You don't want to overboil them or they will get rubbery. So you want to make sure that you don't overboil your shrimp. Oops, one's trying to get away from me here. So we have all this together now. God, there's another one trying to jump out. Maybe they aren't done. Maybe they're still alive. So anyways, that's the way you put it all together. And you're going to want to take some saran wrap, which I already had handy. You're going to want to cover this up. And I have my refrigerator here in my RV running. So I'm going to cover this up, and I want it to cool down in a hurry. It's supposed to be in the refrigerator for about an hour. I'm going to leave it in the freezer for about a half an hour and see how that goes. But as you see, there's not a huge mess. Could be worse. But while we're waiting for that to cool, I'm going to tell you a little story. When my dad was young, he was a teenager. And you know how teenagers are. They kind of get lazy, don't want to do their chores. Well, one of my dad's chores was to take his horse out in the morning. He would ride his horse out to the pasture. And he would get the cows, and he had the cows, had all the cows. He could just about ride any of them. He knew which ones he could ride. So he'd ride his horse out, leave the horse in the pasture all day, ride one of the cows back and get the cows to the milk barn. He had to do that first thing in the morning. Then in the evening, I'm sorry, I got that all messed up. Okay, like I told you, I was going to be telling you a story while we're waiting for the shrimp cocktail to cool. When my dad was a teenager, he was like every teenager, even back then, a little lazy, rather do other things than do his chores. But his chore in the morning was, after my grandfather milked the cows, he would take the cows out to the pasture. And he had all the cows, or most of them, broke to ride. He knew which ones he could ride. So he'd ride one of the cows so he didn't have to walk. And he would herd the cows out to the cow pasture. And he would leave his horse in the cow pasture at night, so his horse would be in the pasture. So he'd just grab his horse and ride it home. But then in the evening, when he was supposed to go out and get the cows, he would ride his horse out to the pasture and get on one of the cows and herd them down the ditch bank and back to the barn, so my grandfather could milk them in the evening. Well, he got to messing around and getting home late and not taking care of what he was supposed to take care of. And so my oldest aunt and my grandfather got together, and they thought about how could we fix him so that he doesn't, that he takes care of his business. So what they decided, my dad got home, it was after dark, my grandfather had been waiting to milk the cows. He was upset. So my dad got on his horse and he headed out to the pasture in the dark. Got out to the pasture, got on one of the cows he could ride, gathered them all up, and started heading the cows back to the milk barn. Well, my oldest aunt grabbed a sheet, bed sheet, white bed sheet, and she cut across and snuck across this dry ditch and was sitting there waiting for him when he headed down there with the cows. Of course, he's riding the cow and all the rest of the cows are following him. And my aunt had a broom with her with the sheet. So when my dad got close, she jumped up in the road under that sheet, took the broom handle and raised it up so the sheet was going up and it was getting bigger. That cow saw that, let out a beller, and the rodeo was on. Threw my dad, threw him hard, knocked the wind out of him. Cows were all spooked. Had to gather up the cows. Of course, my aunt, while all the commotion's going on, she snuck back across the ditch and got home. So my dad finally got the cows gathered back up, got them to the barn, and he was like all shaking and white and scared because he had seen this ghost, and he just knew it was a ghost. He ran in the barn. He was telling my grandfather how this ghost jumped out in the road and spooked the cow and bucked him off and knocked the wind out of him. And so after that little lesson, he never ever went out to get the cows after dark. He always had them in before dark. So I just wanted to leave you with that story. I'm going to end this right now for a minute until the shrimp cocktail cools down, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Alrighty? Okay, folks, I've had this shrimp cocktail in the freezer at about 20 degrees for about 45 minutes. It's nice and cold now, so I'm gonna scoop some out of here. Now, I don't know if you can see this very good, but man, that's dinner, huh? Well, I'm going to end this video now. I hope you enjoyed my shrimp cocktail. I hope you try it yourself. Hope you enjoy it. You have a great rest of your evening. Hit that thumbs up button. Hit it hard. And subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed yet. I really need all the subscribers I can get. So you have a great evening. Again, I'm going to say good night, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite, and I'll catch you on the flip-flop.